However, one topic that might be a little controversial because some Atlanta United fans might disagree about how we're doing right now, to one that I'm sure will not be controversial. Yeah, my Chelsea opinion. Aside from one thing, I'm pretty sure pretty much every Chelsea fan is going to agree with me on this. Yeah, I mean, Potter's got to go, right? Obviously, I've not been able to do reviews for the past few games. But, I mean, my opinion has basically stayed the same for the past few games. Like, it's Potter's just basically his style. It's how we play. It's a lot of, well, we got a lot of possession. We're knocking the ball around nice. We get into the final third, and suddenly we forgot how to play. We're just like, oh, what do we do now? Oh, right, we should make a run. Oh, they've already got the ball. Dang. I mean, honestly, it's the same every match. I really don't understand how every single match it can be the same thing, which is easy to work on in training. The finishing and the runs in the final third. That's it. You just got to work on those two things because everything else you're doing pretty okay on. Defensively, solid enough. You know, against Tottenham is a little shaky, but we're looking decent defensively. In the midfield, we're knocking around well enough. We're keeping possession really nice. It's the final third where you need to be working on stuff. Get these guys to stop shooting right at the keeper. If there's a defender in front of them, miss the defender. Like, do drills like that. Practice makes perfect. What are you doing in practice, in training, that is not translating onto the field? Because if I'm the manager of Chelsea right now, I'm looking at all of our missed chances, all of the one-on-one chances that we've wasted. I'm looking at all of this, the runs not being made into the box, the amount of times that we've had possession in the final third and we've gone backwards with it. I'm looking at all of that and saying, that's got to change. It's not good enough. It's not what we should be doing if we really want to be challenging for Champions League. We should not be, oh, well, it's Southampton, so let's keep knocking it back. We don't want to push it too hard. No, you push it. You try to make things work. You make them work defensively. But it's so predictable. It's dull. It's just the same old, same old. So Potter's got to go. Like if he doesn't go, we're going to stagnate again and again and again. And we've already stagnated. We're going to keep dropping is honestly what's going to happen. Because there are players that look worse under Potter. Felix, when he first came in, looked pretty solid. Very aggressive, taking players on, making great runs. Last two games, Southampton and Tottenham, nothing. Hardly any runs, didn't really do much on the ball, wasn't really taking anybody on. Mudryk, everybody remembers that debut against Liverpool. He looked phenomenal. He looked like he was going to be a world beater. What has he done since then? I think he had one shot yesterday against Tottenham, maybe? Is that right? Did he have a shot? I don't remember. He's not doing anything. I can't stand, and this is where, one of my controversial opinions for some of the Chelsea fan base will come in. I can't stand the amount of fans who are like, we got to get Mason Mount out of here. He's just not good enough. He was phenomenal. He was the heartbeat of the team for Lampard, for Tuchel. He was the heartbeat of the England team for a little bit with Southgate. So you can't tell me that he's successful under these three managers, and then we get to this one where we're not successful with anybody. Like, again, aside from our defense playing okay and Kepa, I would say nobody has gotten better under Potter. Everybody's gotten worse. And you're really going to tell me, oh, Mount's just not good enough anymore. What? Because the manager came in and doesn't realize how to utilize him? The manager's tactics are so dull and boring that his style of play is no longer useful in this team. Suddenly now, oh no, we got to get rid of Mount. How about we get rid of the manager and get a manager in who's actually going to use what we have here, which is a lot of great players, and figure out how they all fit together. Instead of a guy who's just like, well, let's see, this circle here, I'm going to try to stick it into this square hole. Let's see, it's not working. It's not working at all. I'm going to keep trying. I mean, Havertz is not a striker. He's not a striker. Why do we keep using him as a striker? It doesn't make any sense to anybody. Has anybody looked at Havertz and thought, one of the greatest strikers of our generation? Oh. when watching him play number 9, it's such a beautiful thing. The runs he makes, the ability to get on the end of crosses. Is anybody saying any of this about Havertz? Anybody? Is anybody saying anything positive about Havertz as a number 9? This started with Tuchel. He played one match as a number 9 against Crystal Palace and was good because Palace's defending on the day was god-awful. So they just let him have time and space. He had all this time to do all this stuff. It was a great game. We outplayed him because they were poor. And then the next time he played number 9, we didn't score. And then the next time he played number 9, we didn't score. And then the next time, we didn't score. And eventually, Tuchel was like, all right, you know what? Let's stop trying this. Like, he eventually gave up on it. He still did do it every now and then, but for the most part, he did try to stick with an actual striker. Now, those strikers weren't always the best. Lukaku, Aubameyang, unfortunately, Broya. They weren't always the best, but at least he was trying to go, okay, let's actually put a striker in there instead of who's supposed to be an attacking mid, trying to force him to be a number 9. Potter's like, nope, it's going to work. It's going to work eventually, guys. We'll make Havertz a striker, I promise. I know he's not done anything striker-like in any of the games that I've played him up there. I know we haven't scored in probably over half of those games that he's played as a striker, but it's going to work eventually. I'm not insane. Doing the same thing without, expecting a different result, that's not me. I'm not doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I want this to happen. I'm not insane. So yeah, like I said, Potter needs to go. As somebody who agrees with everybody, we need to stop just sacking managers willy-nilly. 100%. Totally agree with that. We should give managers time to grow, time to get better. Potter is not changing anything, though. It's one thing if you're giving a manager, like you look at what Arteta did with Arsenal. Last season, they were struggling. But he was making changes. He was making adjustments. He was trying different things. He was trying to get this team together, which honestly was not a very good team. There's not a whole lot of talent. What he managed to do this season is find a way to get them all working together as a team. They really worked on playing, basically knowing where each other was going to be, playing the same routes, all of that stuff. They understand each other. So they're still not a great team, but he's got them thinking on the same page. And that is what has made them successful this season. With Potter, everybody is still just individuals out there. I don't see players working together. I don't see the drills that they've been working on and training. Where is any of that coming onto the pitch? All I see is the same old, I'm going to run down here, I got no options, backwards. Well, I'm going to pass it across. Well, I'm going to pass it across. Here, take it, go. All right, I'm going to run down here. Look, no options, backwards. Nothing has changed. And it's still the same, it's still the same, it's still the same. Every single match is the same exact freaking thing. That's why he's got to go. It's not because, we're in 10th place. It's not because, we're not winning games. That, the losing, the drawing, all of that stuff, it's not good. But if you can see progress being made, if you can see where tactics are being switched, we're trying to find something that works for the team, if you could see that on the field, then yeah, results right now with a new manager aren't the most important thing. Because you do want to see, okay, well, let's give him time, let's see what he can do. As he's getting his tactics together, as he's trying to find his best team, let's see what he can do in the future. But that's not what's happening with Potter. Like, he did try a lot of different players. He's tried a lot of different players in different positions. He's tried different lineups, but the tactics are still the same dull, boring tactics every single match. So if you're not changing that, it doesn't matter who you put out there. If you don't get us more aggressive, if you don't get players looking forward and trying to make passes and make runs off of each other, if you don't get a striker in there who's actually going to make a run, which Havertz is not, then we're not going to see anything get better. It's going to be the exact same, and teams are going to continue to read everything we do because it's all the same. All you have to do is watch a tape of Chelsea's last match, and guess what? You know how to play against us. Because nothing's going to change next match. The energy level might be a little bit better, or it might be a little bit worse. But tactically, it's all going to be exactly the same thing, and that's freaking easy for the other teams. And Potter's still doing it, and nobody's making changes at this club. They are happy to say, let's see what he can do. That's okay. That loss, it hurt. Let's see what he can do, though. Okay? Yeah, that loss, that kind of sucked. Getting knocked out of the FA Cup, that kind of sucks. But let's see what he can do. Okay, yeah, losing at home to the bottom place team, that's really hard to swallow. But let's see what he can do. Ooh, yeah, okay, losing on the road to your rivals, who are also struggling this season. Yeah, let's see what he can do, though. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good example that would make it funny. It's like if a pilot, for a ship or an airplane or anything like that, just in simulations and everything, they just keep running into simulated buildings and stuff, and they keep crashing the plane or the boat or whatever. They keep doing it. They're just like, no, I got this, guys, and they crash again. And then they're still like, you know what, let's still give him his license. Let's see what he can do. You don't do that. If he's failing every single challenge put in front of him, you're not going to give him his license. So why are we continuing to stick with this guy who's failing every single challenge put in front of him? Like, honestly, the one thing he had going for him is he could beat the bottom half of the bottom half of the table teams at home. That was the one thing he did consistently throughout the season. We won all of those matches. That's done now. So the last thing that he had going for him is gone. He got beat by Southampton of all teams. Not even one of the better teams. One of the worst teams in the league beat you without a manager. Right before your rivals beat you without their manager. So, clearly, these two games, probably the most winnable in the past month. And we lost both. Pretty embarrassingly. Southampton won, the play was fine, but my God, how many chances did we just throw away? And then the Tottenham match was just, did we ever look up for it? So, yeah. So that's my thoughts on Potter. Obviously, this turned into more of a Potter rant type of video. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where my opinions on Chelsea are right now. It's been that way for a little while. And the fact that it's taken this far before even, like, I'm reading reports that the board are putting some sort of ultimatum. Like, I don't even know if this is true or not. It may not be true, because some reports that I read are like, no, we're going to judge him over years, not just a few months. Which I'm just like, we may be in the championship then if you're going to judge him over years. But I finally read an article that's like, yeah, they said over the next 10 days, over the next 3 games, they're going to see what happens, and then they'll make a decision. Like, well, that's already us getting knocked out of the Champions League then, because that's going to be past the second leg against Dortmund. So that's us out of the Champions League. We're also probably going to lose the game against Leeds, so that's going to knock us further down, because Villa's probably eventually going to pick up points and take us over for 10th place. So we're already pretty much out of the running for the top 4. That's a given. 7? Maybe. We still have a chance to get to the top 7, so maybe we can at least make Europa League next year. That's kind of the, fingers crossed, just maybe we could still at least play in Europe. Even if it's not the Champions League where we want to be, maybe we can stay in Europa or Conference League. Those tournaments are not really that meaningful, but it's at least Europe. We can at least have a little bit of a draw and be like, hey, we're building, we're getting better, come join our team, we're still in Europe. If you still want to play in Europe, you can be here. But if we finish 10th, guess what? We're not going to get as many players in as we need to get back up to the top. It's not going to happen. Doesn't matter how big our club is. If players see, well, I can go play for that English team in Europe, or I can go play for that English team that's not in Europe and that has a manager that is not doing, I'm going to go play for that team. It's not going to be a competition for us. We're just not going to get any of those good players. And there are going to be some who are good players here that are going to leave. Mount, it's already being talked about that he's leaving. He's still a good player. Just because Potter turned him into a bad player does not mean he's not a good player. He's still got that capability. He's still very young, too. We need to get a manager in who's going to keep him here and make him as effective as he used to be. Honestly, James, so much less effective recently under Potter. The way he's got him playing, he's nowhere near the best right back in the world, which he was previously. Even with Conte coming back, there's a good chance he's not going to be as effective as he used to be. Between the injuries and between the way Potter plays, who knows? He could honestly be run by because he's just constantly out of position. He doesn't know where to be because Potter's just not a good coach. So there's a lot of players that I feel like we're going to lose if we don't get this idiot out of here now and get somebody in who knows what they're doing. Again, this is the other controversial opinion I had that may piss off some Chelsea fans. Tuchel was a problem. He did need to go. He started a lot of these problems that Potter has made worse. But honestly, the whole too much possession, not enough in the attack, not enough runs up front, some of the players that he brought in that are not really thriving here, a lot of that was on Tuchel. That's what he wanted. And it wasn't good enough. The problem is, getting rid of him, we brought in a manager who's basically same mind as him, but not as good of a manager. So where some people are like, we never should let Tuchel go, I'm sitting here going, no, we needed a change. We did need a manager who's going to come in and do something different and be more effective than Tuchel. But we didn't bring in that. We brought in a guy who's young, who did okay at a mid-table side, got them from lower tier of the Premier League up into the middle. But it's a different ask entirely to take a team that is used to be at the top, has kind of been languishing in near the top area, to get that team back up to the top. You don't need a mid-table manager for that. You need somebody to come in and right the ship for the season. Honestly, if you go when you got Mourinho for the year, just hey, this is a temporary thing, and while he was getting us back on track, that's when you go get a manager who is going to be your long term. Maybe it can be a younger manager, but somebody who understands the game, who does have a higher profile than Graham Potter, somebody who's going to command the respect of the players in the locker room. But you went ahead and you said, all right, this is the guy we want. You brought him in when things were dropping very severely. He made a decent turnaround. That new manager bump happened, and then all of a sudden things started turning for the worse, and he's not been able to find a way to turn it back around. It's just constantly been getting worse because he doesn't have that experience of, this is a big club, these are some big name players, how do you get them back on your side? How do you get them to figure out what to do on the pitch? And again, his tactics, very similar to what Tuchel was doing wrong, so it made the problem even worse. So, anyways, that I think is finally the end of my Tuchel rant, tirade, whatever you want to call it. As far as the players are concerned, again, there's not really much I can talk about because of how bad Potter's managing, I feel like, has been. Because again, there's some players like Mount that he's a good player. He's a good player. We've seen how good he can be under some of the past managers. Even Lampard, who in my opinion is kind of showing he's not really cut out for the Premier League, but Mount was solid under him. He was the one that was running things for a little while and making us look dangerous up front. And then Tuchel came in, and suddenly Mount, once again, the heartbeat of the team. He's making things happen up front. He's really being effective and looking dangerous. And Potter comes in, and suddenly Mount, not as dangerous. Suddenly the runs he's making, not as effective. Suddenly it feels like we're not really going through Mount. He's more so the target man instead of the man that's setting up the play. And we wonder why Mount's not being as effective as he used to be. So I use Mount, honestly, you look at James the past few matches, you can use James as an example as well. A lot of these players are very talented, and we've seen how talented they can be at times. With Potter in charge, they're not going to be effective. He doesn't know how to utilize them. He doesn't know how to fit all the pieces of the puzzle together. And unfortunately, it's hurting a lot of players, and it's causing us to really look disjointed, and a lot of these players who are very, very good to look dull and average and not good enough. So I really hope that the board doesn't do the stupid thing of, we're going to trust the manager, so we're going to get rid of all these guys because they're clearly not good enough, for what Potter's trying to do here. I'm hoping they don't do that because, again, it's going to be another Salah or De Bruyne or whoever. We're going to sell them. They're going to go to another Premier League side, and they're going to dominate in that side. And we're just going to be sitting here going, why why did we do that? Who's the idiot that made that decision, and where is he staying so we can egg his house? Because again, if you're making death threats, by the way, that was something else on Potter. If you're making death threats, you're an idiot. Like, I hate what the guy's doing at the club too. I don't like him as a coach. Death threats, really? People just forgotten how to be in society and live normally. Like, we're all human, you idiots. If somebody thought you were doing a bad job and came up to you and was like, hey, you should die for this, you would look at them like they were crazy. So maybe think about that when you're making those stupid, idiotic threats. Anyways, so yeah, that's basically all for the players, though. There's nobody really I can point out and say, oh yeah, he's been consistently great, or oh, he's been consistently bad. It's just everybody's sort of been hit or miss for these last several games that I haven't really reviewed. I guess I will talk a little bit about the controversy of the the Tottenham match, because that is something that I do have an opinion on, and obviously everybody's been back and forth like, how was that not a red card, and blah blah blah. Here's the thing. First of all, Stuart Atwell, from my experience, he is one of the worst refs at controlling a game. So it's weird to me that he ends up reffing so many rivalry matches. Like, I've seen him ref some Man U Liverpool matches. I've seen him ref some Merseyside derbies, some Manchester derbies, some London derbies. I've seen him ref a lot of those types of matches. And they always end up with what we saw here. So I guess the league just knows. Either they're telling him, hey, keep your cards in your pocket. Don't give out too many cards early on because you're probably going to give them out later. The problem is that generally leads to you giving out more cards later, because you don't card that guy for him hacking down somebody in the 7th minute. I think it was Dyer who did it, or Skip. I don't remember which one. One of the two hacks somebody down in like the 7th minute of the match. Clear yellow card, but it's the 7th minute of the match, so I'm going to keep my card in my pocket. And it's that type of stuff. You got Romero constantly shoving and pushing and stuff, and then somebody shoves him, and then all of a sudden he's like, eh. You're not watching any of that. You're not carding him for that. You're not talking to him about that. That builds up the pressure, the blood boil, all of that stuff. You let all of that go, of course you're going to end up with a situation like what we saw. So, yeah, Stuart Atwell, in my opinion, he's not one of the worst refs in the Premier League, because, again, you got David Coote, you got Craig Pawson, so many others that are worse than him. Honestly, a lot of the refs are getting bad these days, to be fair. But he's not one of the worst ones, but I feel like he is one of the worst in derby matches. He is one that is going to let a lot of stuff go to let that pressure build and let the temperature rise, so that way you will have a shoving match at some point. So as far as the shoving match is concerned, though, yeah, in my opinion, it was the right call. And it was funny, I was actually watching with a friend of mine who we weren't friends on the day because she's a Tottenham fan. But I did even say, whenever they showed the replay and you could see Ziyech's hand go from here up into his face, which honestly it was more his neck anyway. Yeah, I saw that and I'm thinking, okay, they might overturn this. Like, I could see why they would say, well, he still hit him in the neck, so that's still not okay. But the fact that it was directed here and then went up, like it's these jerseys are a little slippery. There's sweat happening as well, so it is very easy to go like that. It's kind of I remember, was it Costa? I think there was a point where everybody was accusing him of biting somebody in the neck. And you watch, and he opens his mouth and closes it on the guy's neck, but you watch the whole thing, he's talking, and yes, his head turns, and he does turn into the guy's neck as he says the word, and his mouth does shut, but it's not like he says the word and then, finishes the word. So everybody's like, he bit him. I'm like, watch the whole thing, though. You gotta watch it in context. That's what I feel like is missing from some of these, where you'll see, like, they'll do a screenshot of Ziyech's hand, like, right here or something like that. It's like, yes, but watch what happened before. His hand was here. Like, I could stop it right here and be like, why would this have been a red card? People are like, well, that's not where it ended. But this is where it started. So, that's the thing. If you're somebody who dislikes Chelsea, or if you're a Tottenham fan, you're going to say that's a red card, because that's your bias. You want it to be a red. Anybody who's more neutral, not biased, I feel like we'll say it could go either way, and then obviously Chelsea fans like me are going to say that's not a red card any day of the week. But the thing is, everybody's talking about that controversy. You're missing all of the other controversy. Well, you got Langlet or whatever his name is. He throws an arm at Ziyech. I don't know. I don't think he hit him in the face, but I mean, he gives him one of these, and it could have very well done the same thing that Ziyech did. Richarlison stands up and gives him a little arm into his stomach. Royale, the reason he pushed him in the first place is because he comes up from behind and shoves him in the back. So you got all of this other stuff going on, and none of the other guys aside from Royale got the card for what they did. And I'm just like, see, this is where you isolate that one moment, you miss all this other stuff. There's a lot of other controversy. Romero should have been off. I mean, he got a yellow for something, I don't remember what, but then lazy touch at one point, Havertz goes to get it. He goes through the ball, studs up, straight leg through the ball towards Havertz. He doesn't really catch him. That's still dangerous play. That's a yellow card if he doesn't catch him. And the ref's just like, continue. That was a good challenge there. Almost a leg breaker. I like it. Keep going. And that's why I'm like, okay, so everybody wants to focus on this, but nobody's focusing on all the other missed cards, missed challenges just throughout the game. So I'm not somebody who says, oh, well, the referee cost us the game. Because he didn't. We didn't play well. We were awful on the day. However, it is frustrating whenever you're already playing poorly, and then you got Stuart Atwell who's just letting stuff go because whether he wants to see the shoving happen or whether he just is that stupid and doesn't really read the game and the tension very well. Whatever the case, it still is frustrating from our point of view. Whenever we're already not playing well, now the refs seem to be piling on to us. It kind of sucks. So, but I think that's about it. I will give a mention, just because most of the time my channel is more for the men, but I do try to keep up with the women as much as possible, because our women are good, and they have a great manager in Emma Hayes, because she is tactically brilliant, where Potter is not. But we have a lot of very solid players. I did want to give a little bit of congratulations, because I had the game on while the Tottenham game was on, and I did make the joke of like, the real Chelsea is winning today, because they are playing more like what we expect Chelsea to be. But yeah, they ended up beating Arsenal, which I know Arsenal is one of the better women's teams out there. So beating them in I think it's the round of 16 in the FA Cup. So I'm pretty sure they're through to the last 8. I also believe they're in the finals of the Conti Cup, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's correct. But so, I mean, they're doing well. They're almost top of the WSL. They do have, they're behind Man U by 1 or 2 points, and they have a game at hand. So they're still playing really well. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those ladies are looking good right now. They are playing well as a team. They are really, I guess, meshing well together. And there's a lot of players that, honestly, when I see them go out, I'm thinking, yeah, I want to see her play. I want to see more. And there's only like a couple, like, I'm not a big fan of Charles. I feel like she's not really on the same level, but she plays a lot. I do think she does have decent pace, which is why she tends to play more. But Brighton Buchanan have made a very good pairing in the back this season. And then whether it's Eriksson, whether it's Paraset, we have some other good options at fullback. But Charles does tend to be the one that stands out. Just her ability on the ball is where she does falter. So typically our fullbacks do get down and try to help out in the attack. If it goes to her, most of the time it's not going to really lead to much of a chance. She does occasionally have some good moments here and there, but she is the most, I feel like, inconsistent player on the ball. And then defensively, her tracking is not always the best as well. So she's the one weak point for me personally. But everybody else around the field, I feel like they're doing their jobs well. Engel, Cuthbert, Fleming, all very good in the center. We got Loopholes back from her pregnancy, so she'll be a good addition in there. And then the attack is just very, very solid and very fluid. Whether it's Wright most of the time plays on the left side, and she's doing very well there this season. Occasionally she'll have the game where most of her crosses are just not connecting, but for the most part they are very dangerous. James, she just looks too good for most of the teams she plays. It's funny because she and Reese both have this kind of just nonchalant look about them. Like, they don't look like they're running that fast, but they're very good with their ball control. So it seems like you're just all you got to do is step in, poke it away. But then all of a sudden, she just moves it away from you, and she's gone. And that little bit of turn of pace is killer. So it's been fun watching her grow, though, especially knowing that she is so young and she's just going to keep getting better. The only problem I really have with her, and this is just my own personal feeling about attack-minded players, I do dislike when attack-minded players aren't very helpful on defense, and she can be a little lazy with her tracking of runs sometimes. So that's about the only issue I really have with her. But on the attack, she looks very solid, and she's been getting herself on the score sheet quite a few times as well. So it's been good to see. And then obviously Kerr is our main striker, and she's been banging in the goals because that's just what she does. She's really showing why we brought her in the first place. And yeah, she's been very, very good acquisition and has helped the team tremendously. And then behind her, sometimes it's Kirby, sometimes Cuthbert plays a little bit further forward. Who's the other one? I think there's one other person that tends to play right behind her. Oh, is it Chankovic, I think? Is that who I'm thinking of? I think that's her name. But yeah, Chankovic, I think, is one. She's newer. I think Chankovic, Paraset, and Kennerid are the three that are newer and just recently brought into the side. They've all done okay. I think Paraset for me is probably the best acquisition we've brought in just because of we needed more fullbacks. But Jankovic and Kennerid have also had some decent games. There were a couple games there where Jankovic was on she assisted a couple and then she scored a couple. A few games in a row where she was constantly involved in goals. So, but Kennerid, she's in and out of the team. It feels like some games she's there, some games we don't see her. So she's okay. I don't think she's any better than what we already have out there, but she's a decent backup if we need some legs at the end of the game because she's willing to take on people and make some good runs in behind. So, but yeah, overall though, that's kind of been my main go-to for positive Chelsea is, yeah, our women's team looks great right now. And obviously not everybody's a fan of women's soccer. I'm kind of on the fence about it because, again, there are some games where I'm just like, this is dull, not because we're playing dully, but because the other team is just so bad and we end up winning like 7-0. And sure, it's like, cool, you win, but it's not as fun if it's that easy. If I go out there and I play against like 10-year-olds, that's not fun. That's kind of what it feels like watching them play sometimes. So anyways, I'm about out of time, so that's about all I have to say about Chelsea at the moment. I probably will get back into doing game-by-game reviews. It's very tempting to not just because of how same everything is right now. A lot of the complaints and the issues that I have right now are exactly the same every single match, so I don't feel like I have much to change in between reviews. Like, every single game, the same stuff happens. So, yeah, I may or may not keep up with the reviews. If I don't, then I'll probably just put out a monthly review type of thing. So I'll try to keep updated about that. But anyways, with all that being said, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts about Chelsea, Potter, the women, all of that stuff? Let me know. We can talk about, discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. I don't know why I got tripped up on that. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys whenever I see you. Peace out.